Welcome to Essential Coaching Conversations with Kyle and Asim.
The real, relevant, necessary conversations to help you navigate coaching, teaching, learning, and life.
Coaches, welcome in episode 4 of Essential Coaching Conversations, Season 3. And again, we're coming to you with the short, snappy episodes so that you can listen to them in the car on your commute. You can listen to them whenever you want, like mowing the lawn when it becomes time for that, walking the dog, anything that you're doing in like 20 minutes, doing the dishes. We're here for you. We want to get our takes and sort of relating what's happening in the world of sport, the world of coaching, the world of education, the world of leadership, all of it to your context. And Kyle, let's jump right into it. It's that time of year, I think, especially in basketball season. It's mid-January, late January. It's conference play. It's sort of the quote unquote dog days, right? And coaches, especially head coaches, are sort of settling into their routines. We're not really perhaps pushing forward to try to get better. And I had this thought yesterday, and we sort of fleshed this out in the pre-show a little bit. This idea of like, well, Kyle, we just got to coach him up. Kyle, we just got to coach him up. We got to get better. 1% better every day. We got to coach him up. And the reason we're losing, or the reason we're not playing at our best, is not because of anything that we're doing. It's because the officials don't like us, right? Or we just don't shoot well in this gym or on this basket in this particular gym. And I could go on and on. I'm sure you and I have both sat in meetings before with parents or with other coaches, and when we go to Nobles, those referees just don't like my kid. They just don't like them. I don't know. How do we get better referees at this one place? Can we check that basket? Is it 10 feet? So it's this idea, right, of like, number one, we got to try to coach them up. And then the other part is there's these like conspiracy theories that we come up with as coaches to try to explain why our team is not performing at their best. Kyle, it is a rampant sickness. And you and I have both gotten reports of this from our EC fam. And I'm curious where your head is at with that here as we start this episode.
Yeah, I think this is the time of year when that starts to creep in, right? Like you're getting into conference play, district play. So these are teams that you've played for years and years and you're very familiar with. And so like the routines are there. That gym is funky. I mean, there's a gym over here in Monroe that I say is weird things happen. I won a game in that gym 21-19 one time. True story. And we weren't trying to stall the ball. It's not like we were holding it for 4 corners. Like we wanted to score, and it's just a weird, funky place. And so that was like the mindset of us going into that gym all the time. And you just expected something weird to happen. And the other team had a half court shot to try to beat us at the buzzer and luckily missed. Because the only thing worse than winning a game 21-19 is losing a game 21-19.
Without a doubt.
So it's just, you get these things in your head and you're like, yeah, I mean, we at Cedar Creek, refs hate us, man. And we never understood why. Like, we pay you cash out the door on the way out, man. Like, we treat you nice. Like, what the hell? We can't get a call? Like, oh my gosh, we know this person's coming in and we're going to get screwed. And I'll say a quick aside there. Like, maybe the referees do hate you, but they probably have a reason for it too. Like, maybe you're being an asshole.
You're a douche. That's why.
Yeah, you've earned it. Your kids have earned it, right? And but yeah, there's all kinds of reasons and excuses for us to kind of lay the blame and put it somewhere else. So automatically we're less than 3 minutes into this, and we're at another tell on yourself episode here of all the things that are outside of our control that we can use to justify poor results, poor decisions, poor behaviors. So we're using outside forces to justify what we can control, right? And that's really our own choices, behavior, and it ends up exposing how little work we've really done on the front end. And so we say, like, yeah, we're going to coach them up and we're going to keep working and we're going to double down and we're going to have 2-a-days, or we're going to run tomorrow, or we're going to do 3 hours worth of film. And we're putting in this fake work today, which exposes all of the real work that we didn't do in the off season, in preseason, our philosophies, making sure that there's clarity within how we're supposed to play within our game model, within our teaching, our environment, our feedback systems, like all of the hard stuff that is underlying comes out, because unfinished business always comes out, as we like to say, and you start getting exposed. And so we've got to be able to justify that in some kind of way, not to ourselves, I think, to our players, but then also to the parents and to our ADs and our administrators and our colleagues. And because I think at the end of the day, what most coaches want, if they were being truly honest with them, is they want to impact kids and win all that, but they want to be respected by their peers.
Right.
There's nothing a coach loves more than hearing from another coach, you do a good job, right? And whether they mean it or not, whether what they're saying is relevant or not, we love hearing, hey, man, you do a good job with your kids. The respect that we hold with other coaches and what they think about us, their perceptions of us, I think is extremely big in coaching circles.
Oh, I think it's – go ahead.
To a degree, I think it is in teaching as well. I'll say that from a classroom teacher. Like, hey, that teacher's got it unlocked. Their classroom management, they're this, they're that, whatever. But I think that's what we want to hear and see. And so in order for us to get that carrot, the little cookie hanging out there, we've got to be able to say these things. And what happens is we as coaches are sitting around at the convention or, pregame during maybe the JV game or the girls game before the guys game or whatever. And we're just wallowing in all of these reasons and excuses, basically to give ourselves outs on like why we're not winning. Because if we could totally control everything, then we would be winning. But the reality is that you don't get to control everything. Like, you do have to deal with some outside factors and forces, and maybe that official doesn't like you and all that kind of stuff. But and I think the sort of the consequence of that is like, we're just going to keep working, and we're coaching them up, man. We're working, we're trying, like we're grinding, we're doing all this. And so in the back and forth of us kind of texting and talking about this being a potential pod topic, my question to you is, what the hell does that mean? We're coaching them up. Because I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and maybe that's a little bit of a cop-out answer. But I want to take it back real, and I'll answer that question. You talked about like earning the respect of your peers, right? And like the ultimate compliment you can get is from somebody that you respect, saying, hey, your kids play really hard, or hey, you really, you've improved the program, whatever, right? I think the opposite is also really funny, though. When coaches lack the self-awareness and they're sitting there talking to their assistants about their next opponent, and they're like, oh, Kyle can't coach. Like, they don't do anything. And then you go and you play them and you get smacked, and it's like, well, wait a minute. Yep. Right? Like, they don't know how to coach. They don't know what they're doing. Like, their team isn't good. They just have good players, right? This is another like conspiracy theory. They must be recruiting better players, or like, how do those kids end up in that situation? And it's like, no, I think they just beat you. And it's possible that they are coaching their kids up better than you are because you are complacent in what you do. And so like complete lack of self-awareness, I think, is actually really funny on the opposite side of that, when you can't give credit where credit is due and actually be respectful towards your opponent and your opposing coach to be like, hey, they do a really good job. And so that leads me to this next part about like, what is coaching them up? And I think like, I watch a lot of basketball with our clients and like the people that we serve and the people that we're around. And it's so funny especially when like it's reported to us that the reason that we lost, according to, a head coach, or according even to our people, is like, we just missed a lot of bunnies at the rim. If we could only make the easy ones. And then you go and watch the film and it's like 1-on-3 at the rim. And like 3 people are standing wide open. Like the 3 amigos are wide open in the corner at the 45 and at the top of the key. And it's like, okay, I mean, sure, you missed a bunny because of the location of the shot, but it was not an easy shot to take. You're trying to shoot at 5'6" over 3 6'4" at the rim. Bro, you better jump stop and kick that shit out.
And probably yelled and won.
Right. And you're like, I on, right? Or like, ah. And it's like, no, that is not good basketball. Or no, it's not good football. It's not good baseball, right? It doesn't matter what the sport is. And so it takes me back to your question about like, what is coaching them up? I think you would agree with this. If you don't have a philosophy to fall back on, and if you don't have language that you've embedded into your program, right? Like for me, I had a word wall in the office when we would watch film with the kids. It was, hey, what word on the word wall coincides with what you're seeing on film here? Right. So we had an aligned, congruent way of giving that feedback to say, this is all we care about, like the stuff on this word wall. We're only going to give you feedback on stuff you can control. We're going to embed using stats in what we're talking about, using data in what we're talking about, so that we are all at the same level in our understanding of what we're trying to do. That to me is coaching them up. When you're saying, oh, well, yeah, we coach them up. I mean, we encourage, well, you can talk about defense, right? We don't need to talk about the stats. We don't need to talk about the data. We don't really need to give them all of that. Like, we can do it, but just less. Like, bro, no. If this is what we're saying our program is about, and then you hit this time of year of like mid-ish, late-ish January, and you're just deciding like, no, we don't really need to do that anymore because now it's conference play. Things are different in conference play. Like, that's another conspiracy theory. No, things are not different in conference play. You become different in conference play. You become different when you get tired in mid-January and you're like, it's so much easier to just ignore objective reality and create a narrative in my head that makes sense to me. And then you end up empowering kids to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that prep work that you talked about earlier, right? The things early in the season, putting in, all of our systems and structures and stuff. A lot of that comes back to your character as a coach, the consistency of your positive habits as a coach. And if you choose to be low character, right? According to that, it doesn't mean you're a bad person.
Sure.
But if you are choosing to be a low character coach or a low character leader where you're not showing up every day and being an everyday guy or gal, that's a problem, right? Because then it gives license to your kids to do that. And all of a sudden, that 20% of your team that really doesn't believe in it anyway, they start to become the best recruiters on the team to try to get other kids to be like, we don't need to worry about that. Let me just take, 20 horrible floaters and just throw some shit up at the rim. And I know coach isn't going to say anything because coach is tired of it. And like, I'm not getting any feedback that says otherwise. So I'm just going to play my game, quote unquote, play my game.
Yeah, you're still on the floor taking those shots.
Right.
So you're empowering them to continue to make those same decisions over and over and over again. The best behavioral adjustment tool in sport is not playing. You think about the old Bobby Knight, like best motivator in sport, ass meets wood, ass meets pine.
Correct.
You do something stupid, you sit on the bench.
The
right?
bench
like
is the greatest motivator.
Yeah, playing time is it's the commodity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like in sport, all these kids want to play. But I think part of the difficulty and the trap that we fall into as coaches. And again, we're sitting here talking about this like we haven't done this a billion times, right?
Of course. Before you start, Kyle, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we got a lot of really good feedback on TikTok from some of our clips. And like, obviously the clips leave out some of the context, right?
Sure.
We have done all of these things before. I want to make it very clear. You and I are reformed people that have done all these things before. And we have gone through the Raka process to try to get better so we don't do them anymore. Sorry, continue.
Right. No, it's a good disclaimer. And I would be hard pressed to find two coaches sitting around talking that have made more mistakes than we have.
100%.
And that's what leads to these conversations is a want to and an awareness of making the mistakes and not wanting to make the same mistake twice. It is okay to make mistakes. We will all screw up. The goal, and I think the ultimate, sort of journey in life is to not make the same mistake over and over and over again, which is why having these conversations and asking these questions and going through the Raka process is so relevant and important. But I think what causes us to sort of fall into this trap around this time of year is we are in conference play, district play, whatever your league or whatever y'all call it. District, it was district down here. Um, it matters all of a sudden. Practices get a little shorter. We're in our routine. But I think the sobering reality of it is that reality starts to set in. We are what we are. We had all these aggrandized plans in May, June, July, and August. We revamped our offense. We were going to put in a new zone defense. We got some new piece of technology that was going to help us on analytics or film. And we got these med balls and we got these cool cones and we signed up for a new weight program. And hey, we're going to do yoga this year, or we're going to focus on nutrition, or we're going to put in some leadership classes. And I signed up for this program, or I brought in a guest speaker. We're going to read a book together. We got new captains. We got rid of the worst problem on last year's team. Like all of these reasons for this optimistic hope that next year is going to be different. And then come January 24th, it's the same. Nothing is different. And in some ways, it's worse. It's the same thing. And so we're going, okay, we're not as good as we thought. We suck again, or this isn't working, or I'm going to have to go back and do all of these other things. I can't wait to get to next year's clinic so I can find the next thing. And we're going to have to revamp that. Or I can't stand Asim. He was great as a freshman and sophomore and was super promising, but now he's fallen into the same trap all of my upperclassmen fall into. And now he's a jerk. And I can't wait for him to get out of here. His mom's nuts. And we're just going to sit here and grin and bear it. And she'll be out of our life forever. If we just have to get through the next month of the season. And we end up falling into this same trap over and over and over again because it's sobering and we're going crap. But we don't want to admit, we don't want to take that moment. That should be a great day for us when we start to realize that, because that's an opportunity at the fork in the road to say, okay, I'm going to do something different. Like I'm going to start thinking about that and maybe have a little introspective moment where you go, maybe it's me. I keep falling into this same pattern over and over and over again. Maybe I've got something to do with it. Or on the flip side, reality's starting to set in. Oh, crap, we're really good. Holy shit, we have a chance. We didn't think we were going to be 6-0 in league play. We've already knocked off last year's champion on the road. We get them at the house in 2 weeks. Their best player just got hurt. This other team's down. The other team across town is not as good as they typically are. Like, oh my gosh, like this is the year. And that's our time. Yeah. That's a completely different reality that sets in. But I'm telling you what, that's just as scary. Because now the expectations start to creep in. The kid the Asim that was the budding freshman sophomore, now averaging 22 a game, got his first college offer. People are coming to the gym. The boys are telling him he's great. He's got girls all over him and all this stuff. Now, all of a sudden, we're getting all this attention that we're not used to. And so there's tons of coaches out there right now that are facing one of these two polar ends. And regardless of that, if you're on the end where you're tired of losing and you're thinking, man, I would love to have all those other quote unquote problems. I'm telling you right now, those are problems too, potential problems.
Major.
And if you're not equipped and ready to handle those based off of all of the pre-work that we talked about earlier, then you're going to struggle getting past these things, regardless of which end of that spectrum that you're on. And maybe you're a program even going a little bit further down the other end. You've won 2 or 3 district championships in a row. You won a state championship. Now it's about repeating. Only thing fans want after you win a title is to win a second one. And if you win 2, now we're talking 3-peat, baby. And let's say you're blessed enough to have won 3 in a row. Nobody wins 4. Man, you think your legend is set now? Wait till you win 4, and that pressure takes over. Or you've got a whole new crop of kids that didn't experience a championship the last couple of years, and now it's their turn. And that pressure continues to build and build and build. And so it doesn't really matter which end you're on. We end up falling somewhere in the middle of this. We just got to keep coaching them up.
Yep.
And we don't know what the heck coach them up means.
Right. And we can extend that a little farther too, to the idea of like, We do all of this work to lift. Let's use the weight room as an example. All summer, you got kids in the weight room, you're sweating, you feel good, see kids getting stronger. In the fall, let's say we're talking about a winter sport, right? So in the fall, we're really ramping it up, right? We're working with a strength coach. We've got a great program. We're on the court. We're getting better and better and better and better. And then all of a sudden, we get into January and we just got to maintain our muscle. We just got to maintain our skill level. Kids kind of are who they are. Like we just got to kind of let it be. Just let it ride. I don't want to mess with it. That's not how muscles work. Right? That's not how psychology works. There's no such thing as like maintenance. You're either getting stronger or you're not. Mm-hmm. You're either getting better or you're not. Like you might hit a plateau, but you're still working on something.
Yeah.
And so the idea that like, and we can use coach speak here a little bit, and you know how much we love coach speak here at Essential Coaching Conversations.
Love it.
Get ready or be ready so you don't have to get ready. Coaches love using that one.
Step in, don't step up.
Right. Especially for the kid who walks in the office complaining about playing time. They want to know what they can do. It's like, hey, be ready so you don't have to get ready. Your time's coming. But as coaches, you're not ready. Right? Like you're not. What preparation did you do to get yourself ready for this moment? How much did you reflect? How much awareness do you have about how your actions are affecting your team? Right? Even so, I'll give you an example. And we're running up on time here, but last year, coaching at Worcester Academy, we were lifting twice a week, 3 times a week in the preseason. And on our calendar, it was made a point. We are going to lift before practice on whatever it was. I think it was on Tuesdays or something. Tuesdays and Thursdays, we were lifting. We were playing Wednesdays and Saturdays. Right? That was our schedule. And we did not deviate. We had a facility that we used. We had a great setup down the hill in Worcester. They came to us in our weight room. That was part of what we did because it was the consistency of those positive habits. We didn't stop coaching them up when we lost. We knew why we were losing. And a lot of it had to do with attitude, and some of it had to do with us taking bad shots. Right? If you don't know, like, oh, we just don't play well there. Well, why not? There's got to be some objective reason that we can point to based on the things that we emphasize and our game model and all of that stuff that tells us why we are losing or tells us why we are not playing well. And maybe sometimes that's just the way our kids feel that day. And they have it in their head because you're anxious about it. Oh, the left basket at St. Andrews is just the worst. We are not going to be able to score. So we got to score all of our points in the first half. Like that's not how the game works. Right? Like stop inventing stories to justify whether or not you're doing your job well. Right? Like that's the bottom line. So as we wrap up here, right? We poke fun, but I think this is a reality that a lot of coaches are facing, and maybe they don't even know that they're contributing to that. But we have to be able to do this better because the kids deserve that, right? When the kids walk in and they're like, I just don't want to deal with, having expectations on how we play. Too bad.
Yeah. That's right? What you signed up for, man.
This is what you signed up for, right? Like, and if you're not willing to hold the line on that, then somebody else needs to have that job. Right? Sport is one of the last places, I think, where accountability and doing things the right way can still matter. And if we lose that, then we might as well just be playing pickup. Mm-hmm. Right? So again, that's all I have to say about that. I really think like it's been rampant like the last few weeks since winter break ended, where it's just like every day, right? We're hearing something about this. It's like, oh my God, like we had such a great system going, and now all of a sudden it's like throw all that stuff out the window because we're in conference play and things have changed. It's like, nope, that's not how it works. Like, that's what we think might work, but that's not how it works. You got to stick to what you're doing, dance with the one that brought you, and trust your process. Because if you're telling the kids, like, hey, be ready so you don't have to get ready, trust the process, they're not trusting you, which means they're not trusting your process.